Hey guys, welcome to the Creators Roundtable of the Content Creator Reunion 2020 Summer. I think that covers it all. I am joined here by a stellar cast of other content creators to discuss various topics tonight about the processes of creating content, our experiences as individual creators, and as well as our interactions with the community while creating content. So I have a powerhouse set of creators with me. I'm joined by Sheldon. I'm joined by Chase, Manicurves, Hobbs, Christian from C&C Power Hour, and later we'll have Austin from Commander 99 on as well. So I think we'll be covering a lot of topics, but let's get a base understanding down right off the bat, and let's talk a little bit about ourselves and what it is that what kind of content it is you create and how long you've been doing so. So let's start off with Christian, and we'll throw it over to C&C Power Hour. So could you tell us what kind of content it is you create and how long you've been doing so?
Yeah, we create the most casual of Magic content. We do like limited sealed leagues on Sundays with like a paper stream. We have overhead cams, all sorts of stuff, and then we also do a Commander or a bunch of other multiplayer formats when we can. We just sort of like to show ourselves having fun with Magic, and we've been doing it 3 years at the end of this month.
Very nice.
It's been a wild ride.
Hobbs, what kind of content do you create and how long have you been doing so?
So currently, I'm involved with the Goblin Lore podcast, and we just hit our 2-year anniversary 2 weeks ago. So this is really, when we started this, it was kind of a podcast that we didn't know how long it was going to last. We lost a host during the middle of this, and we just our episode this past week was about that experience and kind of how we were going to continue. But I also used to write articles about almost 10 years ago, I found, and they were about Commander. So 2010, 2011. So yeah. So I've been doing the podcast for 2 years, and we don't have any plans to stop. Chase is our unofficial third host of the cast, and we love having him.
Speaking of which, Chase,
I'm great at
what kind of content do you create and how long have you been doing so?
Yeah, so I do a little bit of a Mod Podge of everything. I stream deck building, I stream Paper Commander, I used to do a little bit of Arena, and I also write articles for TCG Player, and I will have been streaming content, doing content for a year in August.
Very nice. And then finally, Sheldon, I guess the newest content creator of this group, the youngest one. Sheldon, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm just getting started in the content creation.
I feel targeted.
My content creation is actually nearly old enough to drink. I started writing. I assume that everybody in the room already knows me, so we won't go through the conceit of introducing myself. If you don't ask in chat, we'll talk about it. I started writing for Star City in the year 2000, and wrote Ask the Judge. Basically, created the Ask the Judge online thing for Magic, and then moved to doing some features. And then after I came back, so I took a break from Star City in about 2005 or 2006, but it didn't take me long to step away, to come back after I came away. And in 2007, started writing about Commander, or EDH as we called it back then, exclusively. But as far as online live content creation, I'm relatively new. I started streaming with Olivia sometime early in the year, and then the Commander RC has stood up our own Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv Commander RC. And we stream on Thursdays. We're probably going to add another day to the rotation here pretty soon. The four of us play game one, and then we have special guests We had Melissa Whitaker, or as everybody knows her, Sylvian Silver on. We had Brian David Marshall on a couple weeks ago. So
awesome.
we're gonna, we'll have a host of other content creators and some of our famous friends on the stream. And I also now produce 2 weekly video series for Star City. One called The Command Chair with my fellow rotating cast of my fellow RC members, and we talk about basically the first half of the show. We talk about the RC and what we do, and then the second half is just us talking about cards and deck techs and stuff like that. And the other show is called Commander Community with Anthony Alongi, who I used to do a podcast with called Elder Dragon Statesman. We basically rolled part of that into a video series, and Anthony and I talk about everything beyond the tabletop of Magic. The people, the places, and the things. So,
And he's in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, and he's from Minnesota.
Sheldon, you need to come visit us.
Hey, as soon as all this nonsense is over, I will be happy to.
Yeah.
I'll even let you take me to Manny's.
It's funny because Sheldon, you live actually right around the corner between Nitsua or Austin and I, but I've never had the fortune of being able to meet you. So hopefully I can change that once all this COVID thing ends. Us Central Floridians got to stick together. But yeah. So I mean, if I want to say anything about Sheldon, he's the godfather of he is the father of the greatest format in Magic the Gathering. So if you guys don't know who Sheldon is, and you're an EDH player, shame on you. Shame on you.
Is that you, Dad?
There are a lot of people who aren't as invested as some others, so it's fine. When when somebody's like, I posted something in Reddit the other day, and somebody responded like, "Who is this guy, and why should we listen to him?"
I mean,
you don't know. You don't.
I asked
know
that
EDH.
anyway, but
And I got
like
EDH explained. I got EDH explained.
Oh,
in a Facebook group.
Did you know it was a 100-card format? I didn't.
Yeah.
But
You don't understand.
No, the person.
Sheldon, you don't understand the spirit of the format like they do.
Right. They were like, well, the RC does such and such because of reasons.
yeah.
And I kind of gently. I mean, it was obvious that I didn't want to come off the top rope. So it's like, no, that's really not the way that we do things, and I kind of stressed it.
I like the subtlety of that.
That's a very good way to respond, actually. So
And then the person was like, yeah, you don't understand anything, blah blah blah. They do this, and I'm like,
Wow.
Okay. And I didn't say after that. I didn't say anything. I just let the channel or the Facebook group orc pile the person.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good basis. Now we understand the quality, the level of creators we've got involved in this conversation. So we're going to dive into some cool questions now. I really love this one because I'm curious. Every day I'm curious about this one myself. So what do you do for a living, or if you're a full-time content creator, what did you do before you became a full-time content creator? Let's just start off the top. We'll go from top to bottom again, starting with Christian.
Yeah, so now I do tech support for accounting companies, but when I started doing content creation, myself and the rest of my play group, we all worked at Starbucks, and that's where we all met, and that's where we all worked, and sort of built this thing up from there, piece by piece, over the past couple of years.
Right, and so that's kind of telling, because a lot of people, they create that initial kind of play group that you stick with for through thick and thin very early on, and it could be from your workplace. A lot of my play groups came from workplaces and that kind of thing. So, Hobbs, what do you do for a living, or if you're a full-time content creator, what did you do before this?
I'm a clinical psychologist at the VA in Minneapolis.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so I'm judging.
You must
everybody
be
in chat right now.
You must be the best Commander Politics player in the world.
I'd like to think so, but I tend to get targeted in most Commander games I'm in, so I think I have a little bit of a reputation. But yeah, so I'm a psychologist at the VA, And I've actually been very fortunate in the last couple of years to be able to start bringing some of this hobby stuff into my work. We actually have a D&D for social anxiety group up and running right now. And it was an intern that I worked with, proposed it, designed the campaign, and we've been running it through the web, even with COVID happening. So it's really nice that I felt supported to be able to bring some of that in. So that's what I do.
Very cool. Chase.
Mm-hmm. So
what do you... Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I got excited. So when I started doing content, I was a full-time grad student and
cool.
part-time worker at Starbucks. I just graduated in May, and I'm still working at Starbucks looking for my post-grad job, which is really difficult because you can't do therapy, during COVID, which makes me so sad.
It's very hard. Yeah.
It is extremely difficult. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is pretty much I'm in like the same ring as Hobbs. Just as I like to call it, slinging the bean while I try and find my post-grad job.
Very, very cool, very cool. Sheldon, let's talk a little bit about your past work history.
I am currently a trophy husband.
Oh, I'm also that
nice.
too. Yeah, I'm that.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah, my wife is an actual rocket scientist, and I retired from the U.S. I retired from the U.S. Air Force in 2004. I guess it's fair to say that I'm currently a full-time content creator, but I retired from the Air Force in 2004, and she said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, this company," because I was in computers and communications. For example, I did computer security for Dick Cheney when he was Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
He was like, "This company will pay me a lot of money." And she said, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Money?" She's like, "No, really. What do you want to do?" And I said, "Write books and play games." And she said, "Then
the dream."
And she said, "That's what you're going to do."
Wow.
So
Goals.
that's what I do now. I write and I play games.
Good for you, Sheldon. Awesome. I'm almost there. I might be able to be a trophy husband. My wife says I need to have at least 5 dogs. I'll have to be a dog father in order to pull that off. It's debatable. I might just do it. I don't know.
Yeah. My wife's an OBGYN, so I keep trying to just stay at home.
But she's like, get out.
Yeah, she's like, no, you need to work.
Yeah. So you had mentioned a little bit about how. What's that, Christian?
I was actually going to ask who this Brandon guy is. I think they've just sort of been sitting here.
Yeah.
But I don't think they got an introduction or anything.
You've been very quiet, Brandon.
I've just been letting you do your thing, man. You kept skipping over me. I was like, all right, I see how it is. We'll see how long you stay in the chat.
Well, Brandon is our behind-the-scenes producer / facilitator of this entire event. So, of course, we're going to be unreasonably mean to him. Even though we literally could not operate 1 second without him being here.
Well, hello.
Yeah,
my name's Brandon. I'm just going to talk over Sheldon. I'm just going to talk over Shannon at this point. Screw that guy. My name's Brandon. I'm a host at MTGLexicon. We do filthy, drunken, casual commander. We made a point that we were going to be ourselves on stream, and that's who we're going to be. And we've been doing that now for 4 years, almost 5, coming up here in the next couple of months. And we've been doing it on Twitch for a solid almost 5 years. So we've been doing a lot of games, been trying to get really deep in the community. The number one thing that we emphasize in what we do is we want to make sure that we lift other content creators up. If they need a stepping place or a stepping stone, let us be it. We don't care if you get bigger than us, smaller than us, whatever it is. We want to introduce you to the community and get you where you want to go, because that is what everyone deserves, and everyone needs an opportunity like that. And there's too many times where that just doesn't happen. So that's us.
If I can make a comment on what Brandon said there, the way that you make a great community is start with a good community philosophy. And I think the commander philosophy of making an experience for everybody, to make a resonant experience and care about the experiences of the other people that you're playing with is what attracted the kind of people that are sitting in this room to the format in the first place. And those are the people that build these amazing communities. So you say, hey, we want to be a haven for community building. And guess who you attract? The people that build great communities. And time and time and time again, I'm reminded of how great the people in the Commander community are, and really unlike any other Magic community.
Definitely. I agree wholeheartedly. I think that Magic inherently is it's a competitive game that people choose to come and compete in. And that does draw certain personality types that are more competitive than normal. So when you go into this other area of Magic and you start creating content, there's still this competitive urge in the back of your mind. You want to do well, and you may want to you see somebody else do well, and you judge yourself based on their success, and you want to try and be better, or be better than them, or try and figure out what it is you're doing wrong. And it can create a hostile environment, but that's really not what I've seen in my experience. This community is so much better than a lot of the other areas. Obviously the tournament Magic scene is much more competitive, but this one's very more supportive and casual, and everyone's coming together, which I think is awesome. But Brandon, you didn't mention what is it that you do?
Oh, I'm a sysadmin, so I do anything and everything technology-wise, and I've been with Zillow for now 6 years, so I do a lot of the back-end infrastructure for a good portion of that. So,
if you want to convince people that my house is worth more than it is, I can.
Could you? Is there like a?
Yeah, I said infrastructure, okay, not the whole calculator.
A flag that you flip?
Yeah, if that estimate can be bumped up so that people looking,
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is they already do. And it creates unreasonable expectations.
All right,
so I think you have the
last question.
What's that?
This is for Shannon.
Yeah.
Who are you and what do you do?
Oh, wow.
We're gonna reverse it on the host.
To just be the host and try not to take any time if I could not do so. But I will answer that one. I'm Shannon. I'm from a show called The Trinisphere, where our show was born from the philosophy of the Timmy, the Johnny, and the Spike, and how well that captured the different facets of Magic the Gathering. And we use those three psychographic profiles to really get a better understanding of the game, EDH specifically, and play group dynamics because of that kind of thing. We have a sorted history in our play group of banishing spikes as net deckers, and this coming of understanding that there's different kinds of philosophies. We've been developing content for about 3 years. We started with just podcasts where we talk about this stuff, but I always joke we saw these other facets of content creation like deck techs, and we said, oh, that should be pretty easy. Let's just figure that out real quick. And a year later, we're struggling to learn video editing, and then we saw gameplay, and we said, you know what? Let's try and do that. That should be pretty easy, right? Yeah. And then a year later, we're struggling to get lighting correct for scenes. So it's been a fun journey for the Trinisphere as a show, and we've been doing it for about 3 years. And before this, or while I'm doing this, I am a developer, a programmer. And I work in the defense industry, and I specialize in automation. But either way, this has been the coolest hobby, and I look forward to this more than anything else every day of the week. Even though I, I'm still woefully in debt for having taken on this venture. So that's me. That's your host, and I am here to pry information out of you all. So. Let's move on to the next question about what inspires you, and that question will be, what is another creator that you look to for inspiration? Now, I know some of you may be veterans and almost probably best in class at what it is that you do, but maybe you see another creator out there that really kind of caught your attention because of how well they executed something. So I'm kind of interested in that, to hear some cool stories about other creators and what it is they were able to pull off that were really impressive. So we'll start with you, Brandon, who you're now on the top of my list.
Nice job making it up there.
Hey, I had to give him the rough treatment, you know. Now he's stuck on me. When we first started, we started before a lot of the major ones hit, but I think Commander Versus had just started, and we started shortly thereafter. But we're like one of the very few people that started in Twitch for paper gameplay. So it was really a new space, and just kind of pioneering that space for us, and making it at least look easy to watch and digest. As you know, at the time we saw everyone else had this, and I would say that the best way to answer this is we looked at what people were doing post-production wise, and we said, can we do it live? And that has been our goal from day one, is to make it look like a post-production in a live setting. So there you go.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, next up would be Christian. I know you may have answered these questions before, Christian, but let's hear it again.
If you didn't learn anything from last night, Shannon, you should have taken away that I really do like to talk.
I love it.
Yesterday I did talk a little bit about this, but Loading Ready Run were the people that not only that we sort of wanted to emulate a little bit, but they actually sort of drove my interest and passion in Magic, and so we looked to what they had done with the pre-releases and like their Commander setup, and we sort of looked at it and was like, okay, how can we do this cheaper and slightly differently, and add in a couple of things that we like. That's adds a little bit of extra flair, like hand cams, and whenever we're playing 2-player setups or 2-headed giants or things like that. And then from there it was just sort of like, how can we minimize the work that we have to do and maximize the fun we have to do? Whenever my friends come over to hang out, they volunteer their time for 4 to 6 hours on a Sunday or a Wednesday afternoon, and so that's sort of what has driven our tech and our setup, was just how can we make what we're doing as easy as possible, as consistent as possible.
Right. I'll note that Loading Ready Run was the first show that I can recall that implemented the card reader system, and I remember watching the tech video of them go through the details of that. I was kind of blown away, because I had worked in college a little bit on image recognition, and when they were able to implement that, I was like, wow, that's something we all as content creators really need, but it's kind of blocked behind this gate.
Yeah.
But now, Spelltable may be breaking that out and making it something available to everyone. So, the future's looking much better for us.
I was impressed.
Sure.
This was only my second time using Spelltable today, and it definitely was helpful, because when I do streams, I'm running just by myself. I only have my laptop. I can't really be doing card images that I know some people were doing at a point, or they had somebody else that would have Scryfall. So using Spelltable was actually very impressive to me.
Yeah, I think they've got a great product there, and we'll see how long they last as an independent company before they're bought up by a larger one. But anyways, Hobbs, let's talk a little bit about your inspiration.
So I think for inspiration-wise for us, so like I said, we talked about this on the episode, but Joe was really so he's I think he's at Joby1 Kenobi now, or I don't remember, because he's the one who left our cast, but he approached us with this idea, and to me, the lore goyfs were kind of the ones that were doing this creative aspect with the lore and to other stories with it, and I think that's where I kind of drew a lot of inspiration, and kind of they're still doing just great work with kind of just how do we take lore and have fun with it, kind of dig deep into with some headcanon type stuff, but how do we apply it? And then more recently, so this wasn't an inspiration as much so as just I've been very impressed by Daquan Watson and his co-host on The Color of MTG. They're just doing phenomenal work. We had him on the show, and it was just, I started listening in preparation for having him, and I've just been impressed with the conversations that they're having and the amount of content that both him and his co-host are putting out right now. It's just, they're putting something out on YouTube almost every single day, as well as doing a cast. And I think that to me has just shown kind of the commitment, and that's the type of stuff that I think being able to put out a regular product has been the thing that I had to learn how to do. And hosts like that and groups like that is really what taught me to do.
Very nice, very nice. Chase, what inspires you?
So when I first started out, I didn't really have any, inspiration or any like one creator that I kind of looked towards. But as I have, continued to sort of like dive deeper into like making stuff and working with other people, I think one of the most impactful like sources of inspiration for me is Kristen. She's on Twitter as the Kristen Emily. She is a fantastic article writer. She does work for Hipsters of the Coast. She's absolutely fantastic and a super lovely person. And I find that she's a really good person to just bounce off, ideas and talk to, and she's super wonderful. And the amount of like effort and just devotion that she puts into her work is phenomenal. And I really recommend people giving her stuff a read. And I know she's done a couple of like collaborations recently. You should definitely check those out on YouTube. But she's like super awesome.
Very cool. We feature her on cultivated content quite a bit on the Commander website.
Nice. Sheldon, so I mean, I know you've been around actually longer than this format has existed. But what have you seen, I guess, with your Sheldon eyes in these years that kind of were like, wow, that was, I'm kind of a little impressed with how that was handled.
So I mean, there's two sort of axes that you get inspired by. It's by the people that are doing the thing that you're doing, and then people that are having the effect that you want to have. And my brand is coming from a position of authority, and since there's generally not much of a higher authority, I can't look up to anybody to do that. I can see how other people do the thing, have the effect that I want to create. And certainly, as far as I'm concerned, in the Commander content creation game right now, there is no better community creator than Olivia Gobert-Hicks. If you go onto her stream, the people there, it really is just the best chat there is. And occasionally a Magic game will break out underneath, but the whole purpose is to get together with your buds and have some good times. And she has really fostered this great sense of good times. And I think that the effect of what she's done has been exactly what we should aspire to. And the other one, I'll tell you, I was on CDH Brazil a week ago, and those.
Wow.
People,
okay. All right. This is a big change of pace. CDH Brazil.
Oh, hey,
all right.
He posted a list recently. I saw Sheldon post the CDH list.
Yeah, I saw Sheldon post a CDH list.
Well,
it was. Yeah. I thought we were in the darkest timeline.
Yeah,
clearly the darkest timeline.
Well, occasionally people will say that I don't know anything about competitive Magic. So
yeah, it behooves you to learn, right?
Right.
Yes.
But the folks there are just so passionate. There was a sense in the room of just loving what they were doing, and I was pretty inspired by that. And there was good time. The folks that run CDH Brazil are just are Deco and Bispo and those guys. They're good beats, and good time was had by all. So it really the roundabout answer to the question is, it's what we do additionally create? What's the secondary effect? And I'm very much inspired by some of the things that happen because of what content creators do.
And I would say, Sheldon, one thing is that, with you kind of being around longer, is you've really made a mission recently to be featuring smaller creators and kind of trying to bring attention to people whose work may not get through. Like you mentioned, Olivia's stream, you go on it, there's going to be tons of people there. We know that that's what we're going to expect. It is a great chat. It's great games. It's great, just fun. It also is kind of one of the bigger creators, and you've really made an effort, I think, to highlight some of the others. You and I played with Chase, and I think that was like a big thing to kind of have that. I mean, that's actually the reason I even got it set up to do webcam Magic was to kind of do that with you guys. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's our responsibility, my responsibility, to help foster the next generation of content creators. It's not enough to be one. I think we have to look for tomorrow, and I truly believe that great leaders work to replace themselves. And if someday in the not too distant future that, you know, like the format doesn't need me anymore, that's fine with me. You know, if someone else has come along and, you know, will do what I do, then great. That's exactly what I'm supposed to do. And I mean, to that end, we, like I said, on the Commander website, we have a thing called cultivated content, where we go out and look at content creators and say, you know, we think this article would be good for you to read, or we think this series would be good for you to read. And then we do a second thing called New Voices, which is from people who are unpublished previously. So to be a new voice, you can't have published anything anywhere, which means that to some extent people have to self-identify. But then I work with them to get, you know, their content, and so far it's just been written, to something that is publishable. And there are plenty of great people who have plenty of great ideas, and some of them just need that little push out the door, and they need somebody in a position of authority or notoriety to say, yes, this is okay. And I highly hope that somebody that we have featured on New Voices eventually becomes, you know, like the next popular content creator, because then we'll definitely have done our job.
Absolutely, that's admirable. I would vote for you. You know, Sheldon 2020. I would do it. I would do it.
Do it. I'd vote.
Yeah, I mean, you got multiple votes at this point. Sheldon, you had talked a little bit about the position of authority and how you're kind of viewed as this figure that when you speak, you're almost decreeing law when you speak. So it must make it a little bit difficult for you to have casual conversations. But, you know, has that really affected how you create content?
You really got to fucking watch what you say.
I feel like I can do that now. I was scared to do that. Oh,
yeah,
Sheldon.
Yeah.
You got to watch what you say because you know that everything is going to get dissected. Sometimes you have to say, I don't care. You know, doing the right thing. I wrote an article for a not magic publication most of 20 years ago about doing the right thing. And the conceit of the article is, sometimes when you do the right thing, you take your lumps, but guess what? You've still done the right thing. And I highly believe that you continue to do the right things, and if the right thing gets hate thrown your way, that's fine by me. Bring it on.
I mean, that's a pretty noble stance to take, where you have to kind of almost be a martyr for your cause, because you can't. Everyone, no matter what you say, you have so much spotlight on you that there's going to be some number of people who disagree.
Sure.
And they're going to be a vocal group who's going to say, you're wrong, you're destroying this thing that you effectively created. You're destroying this thing. How could you do this? And, you know, it could be a tiny, tiny, tiny portion, but no matter what you do, you're under this microscope every step of the way. So it's very intriguing, the situation that you're in.
I think it's important for all content creators to understand, and you know, I think as you do it for a while, you hopefully come to realize this. When anybody says something extremely hateful, toxic, or vitriolic, that's never about you. That's always about them. They are themselves hateful, toxic, and vitriolic. So
right.
Don't, you know, I did a Reddit AMA, I think last year sometime, and one of the questions was, what's the thing that you've learned from, you know, being a figure in this format? And the answer was, never read the comments. And I learned it. And I learned it by reading the comments.
Yes, that's almost like a stepping stone or like a milestone per se for a show. I read all the comments, of course, on our our shit or the content we produce, but there comes a moment when you need to stop for your own mental sanity, because no matter, you could create the perfect piece of content, but it'll attract people who are maybe envious or jealous of the content you created, and they'll try and use some methodology to try and pick you apart, to try and bring you back down to a different level. But either way, so yeah, you have to stop reading the comments, and I think that's a milestone per se, to just reach a point where you're like, I need to stop doing this and keep going forward, because I'm doing the right thing, but I've attracted naysayers, which in itself is a bit of a badge of success.
Or there's
I feel like I'm back in grad school. This is awesome. I was gonna say, one of my favorite things that Sheldon told me was to learn to sort of take the punches of it, and kind of learn to grow a thicker skin, because that was something that I thought was really important, because I'm a cupcake. I get really sad really easily about everything. And that's one of my favorite pieces of advice is, there's always going to be differences of opinion based on what you put out, and it's not anything towards you personally. And I'm the kind of person who takes everything very personally. And so I remember when he told me that, I was like, I didn't immediately pick it up, because again, I was still a cupcake, but it took me some time, but now I'm a little bit better with that. So thank you, Sheldon. And
you do see it. You do see it a lot in our community. You see these really great creators, some of the best we've ever seen at doing what they do, but they get tied up in what people are. And I'm talking about random people on the internet. And they get bogged down. They could have 99 people saying, you're the best we've ever seen at this, but you have 1% that says, you're trash at doing XYZ. And that 1% ends up consuming their mentality. Mm-hmm. They really want to reach 100%. And if you can reach a point where you're able to deflect that 1% or 10%, 20%, you will be successful. I would assume. I see a lot of other people successful who are able to blow off, or just actually, kind of brush off all these negativity, which just comes with what it is, what we do. It's going to attract it now.
I also understand that it's easy for me to say that, because I come from a position of relative authority, and there's not much that anybody could do to me, right? Whereas new content creators are operating on a much more tenuous ground. So mostly, I think it behooves the rest of us, when we see negativity, to address it, to step in front of it, to say, no,
very true.
This bullshit is not what we want in our community, and we're not going to put it.
Yeah.
And I know that
I think 2020
when we started the Goblin Lore podcast, that was a tough thing, there definitely was this kind of element of wanting to be recognized, wanting to grow the brand, the cast, whatever it was. And we've really kind of stepped back and taken a look at that. I mean, especially for me, I am the type of person that, similar to what Chase is saying, that 99 comments are positive and 1 is negative, that my brain is going to automatically go to the negative side. I talk about this a lot on the cast. I have a history of depression and anxiety, and even as somebody in the field, what helps me is I have to talk about this on a daily basis with other people, which keeps it at the forefront of my mind to be aware of my own kind of ability to get caught up in that, and my ability to take things very personally that are not. And once the cast kind of had these frank discussions about what we were doing and what we were going to care about versus not, and what we were going to focus on, it's made a huge difference in what we feel that we can do for our episodes. And I think it's made the episodes a lot better, because we're not necessarily, we're doing it for the reasons that we've gotten positive feedback for, or the things that people have said that they want to keep seeing. And we're not going to worry about the other elements of it right now. It's just, if we don't grow, we don't grow. We are enjoying what we're doing, and we're finding what we're doing part of people's mental health and our own mental health. And we're going to continue doing that as long as we feel that we can. And I think that took thinking about it to just realize, okay, what do we want out of this?
I think that's a good thing to touch on. And I talked about this last night a little bit. And that is when in our first year that we were operating, we were comparing ourselves to everybody else, right? Mm-hmm. We got a comment, we're like, okay, we got to do this. And then we're trying to improve. And all the hosts got together and we sat down and we told ourselves that we're not going to play that game. We're not going to pay attention to the comments. We're not going to give a shit about what people say about us. And we're going to make the content we want to make because that's what we want.
Yep.
We're not going to censor ourselves to let wizards shine the light on us so that we can, be hoisted up. I am who I am. I'm going to talk how I talk. And, I'm not going to let everyone else around me dictate how I should act, right? And that goes with all of the other hosts too. It's like you shouldn't have to change or modify your content for views. You should be able to be yourself and be true to yourself, and that'll take you a lot further than anything else, because if you have to convince yourself to do something that outside of your comfortability, then it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Sometimes it can carry you forward, sometimes it can bring you down, and a lot of people don't take that in consideration. And that's something that we've done, is we just said, screw it all. We're going to do what we want to do, and that's what we want to do. If someone else says, oh, well, we're not going to sponsor you because you drink on stream, well, okay, that's fine. We're just going to keep being us, and that's what we want to do, and we're the ones that have to show up, every week to stream. We're the ones that, play the game and are here for not just everyone else in front of us, but for ourselves more than anything else like that. So I do want to say that it's very important that, you love the skin you're in and do the things that you want to do.
Mm-hmm. And it's also,
Very
at
well
least
said.
to me, really important to recognize that that the people that are likely to leave negative comments or negative feedback are going to be the loudest, right? You're going to get, way less good feedback, even though there are a lot of people that like what you do, than you are going to be like the ratio of negative feedback. And so that's something that has helped me keep that in mind whenever I come across.
That's very true. Very true.
Yeah, negative
Someone
comments.
should definitely make a gif of Sheldon just casually leaning back and sipping the wine. It's a mood, to be honest. I really liked it. He was just, grabbed it. It's
DGAF.
a gigantic glass. He just took a sip, just put it down. Very unbothered. I really like it.
We'll use the 8-bit sunglasses. 8-bit sunglasses, and it'll be deal with it.
Yeah, beautiful.
We're going to have to send them some sunglasses now.
A lot, actually.
Okay, so yeah, I mean that was awesome. I'm so glad you all were able to go down that path. We've already effectively segued into our talks about community and our interactions with the community, because that's where we're going right now. So let me just field another question, keep it going a little bit, and then I think in a couple of minutes we're going to swap out some people, maybe swap in some new people. We'll do a quick introduction of them, their content, how long they've been doing their content, and then get them involved in the conversation as well. But before we go there, I want to talk, what is a big misconception you feel that this community has about creating content, whether it be about the processes, the simplicity, or I do wish, I know Olivia was going to be a part of this conversation, but she was not able to make it. But there's been a recent misconception that cosplay is not content creation, and that's something I really would love to have her speak to.
Yeah.
But that is something I wholly disagree with, and like fundamentally, that there's a need that content creation adds to something very specific that someone's looking for, and that anything else doesn't do so is not considered content creation. But I'd like to hear from you all. What is a misconception you feel about the community about content creation? And let's mix it up. I think I've given enough leadway time for you to hear the question, to think of an idea. So I'm going to actually reverse the order here, and maybe start with Sheldon, who is the most experienced of us all, and probably has a couple of things that come to mind. So enough stalling. Sheldon, do you have an idea of a misconception the community has about creating content?
Cosplay is content creation. If you don't think so, get bent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
If you don't think so, come to my door and tell it to me to my face.
Yeah.
And I'll
Fight me right now.
and I will
Fight me IRL.
I will
Yep.
explain to you in excruciating detail why you're wrong.
I mean, this makes me want to do it just now so I can come to your house and get some wine and just hang out.
Yeah, but you're gonna come. You're gonna come, and we're gonna open up something in the cellar. So
Not a can of whoop ass, but you know, a nice Merlot.
An aged can of Bass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Sheldon. I mean, you hit it on the head. I think it's the notion that came up. It was shockingly gross, and I think there's a very small vocal minority that thinks that. And you know, my show comes from the mentality of the Timmy, the Johnny, and the Spike. And I don't want to put labels on things, but I do believe that there is a hyper-competitive group that exists out there that believes that any content that doesn't improve their probability of winning a match is worthless, and they are a vocal minority that shouts very loudly. So then, and I see that, you know, as we tie into the previous statement, there are the 1% who are saying to some people out there, you're not a true content creator. And that is weighing heavily on those people. And it hurts me to see it. It hurts me to watch these things happen where this vocal minority is able to drag down someone who's wildly successful.
Yep.
And make them doubt what it is that they're doing. Mainly because their narrow view on what it is as content creation is negatively impacting them. But that's my 2 cents. I really shouldn't be talking so much, so I'm going to throw it over to Mana Curves.
I'm gonna jump in there. I believe that being anti-cosplay, thinking that cosplay is not content creation, is veiled misogyny. And
100%.
and
I would agree.
And we don't want those people.
No.
Absolutely. And you're actually right. You're actually cutting straight to the core. There is a lot, especially in this day and age. 2020 has been a wild year about realizing and introspecting and seeing why it is that you have thoughts. Why do people say the things that they say? And you realize that there's a lot of hidden agendas that you didn't realize existed. And now you see it here, especially in Magic, in the Magic community too. You're starting to see that a lot as well. And we need to combat that every chance we get.
Yep. Every chance we get.
But anyways, I'm sorry. Enough.
Hey,
enough.
Chase, how's it
I'll get
going?
off my soapbox. I'm going to pass my soapbox. It's a little worn out. Chase. Now, Chase, you can absolutely just bring us off of this crazy mountain we've climbed.
Actually,
and just talk to us about a general casual misconception. You know, creating content ain't easy, yo.
Yeah, I'm gonna climb back up that mountain real quick.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
I have to say, but like the thing is, like before I started doing Magic, I was super into like comic book cosplay. That's what I did. If you scroll back down on my very embarrassing Instagram, you will see a lot of pictures of me dressed up as like Batgirl and Harley Quinn and the Riddler. You know, I did a lot of comic book cosplay, and I do have to agree with Sheldon that it is heavily veiled misogyny. You know, it's not even veiled. It's just very blatant, you know, to kind of say, okay, you know, like this thing that you worked really hard on, it doesn't matter for you. Back when I did like the comic book scene, it was called like you're a booth babe, you know, like you're just there to like, you know, look good, and that was about it. So a lot of people got, you know, harassed, you know, across all platforms for doing something that it takes a lot of work and takes a lot of effort. So that was just, I would 100% agree with that it is 100% content creation. It is just, you know, a lot of people just don't want to see it that way. And it takes a lot of hard work, money, time, energy, effort, eye for detail to do something that intricate. And in terms of me stalling, because I actually don't know how to answer the question.
Seems like a pretty good answer.
Just really wink twice and we'll bail you out.
But I do have to say, like, you know, a lot of people, when we tend to think content creation now, I don't know if this would count as an answer, but we tend to think sort of streaming. You know, and as a streamer, you know, I'm very, you know, that's kind of what I do. I do write articles, but my main steez is sort of streaming. And I know that a lot of people are kind of putting it on, you know, the mental back burner, or even like, you know, just like, okay, you know, streaming, That's the cool thing. But there's still some fantastic people who write articles, who put their heart and soul into it, who put their heart and soul into writing and podcasting. And, you know, those are still incredibly important and valid forms of content. Before we had streaming, we had articles, and those are literally the bread and butter of it. And so, like, you know, with like an example like the creator program, seeing, you know, more representation of that, just because I think it's important. Before I even began to stream, I had a little itty bitty blip of articles about mental health and magic with Masters of Magic, and that was absolutely fantastic. It made me feel like super cool because I was like, I'm a real creator now. Because I was I was like, look, it's really cool.
You did it.
And I know. I was like, I'm like really cool, and it was, yeah. Really, like, in terms of like misconceptions, I would 100% agree to come back up on that mountain and say, you know, cosplay is one of the highest forms of content creation. And in terms of misconceptions just about like streaming, you know, I don't know, this might be a little funny answer, but usually when I tell people that I have to stream, they're like, that sounds really cool. And I'm like, yeah, it is super cool. But sometimes sitting in a chair for hours really hurts your back. I don't know. I have back problems, so I gotta like hunch over and stuff. So that's like my little like funny answer.
Well,
But
you've also
Yeah, no, it's work. It's not. It's it is
Chase.
fun, but also it is work.
Chase has talked
So
about-
Hobbs.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, Chase has talked to us about this, but the consistency of putting out a schedule and the fact of the pressure that goes with that if you miss a night of streaming for yourself because of mental health or whatever the reason is, and you have to do it, it can have such an impact on your livelihood. And
I think I'm horrible if I skip a night. I'm
well,
like,
yeah, but I mean, and there is that real belief that if I don't do it, then, you know, they're counting on this, they won't understand, they're going to stop watching, they're going to drop my Patreon. And for some people that are really working on this as you asked at the beginning, kind of what do you do for a job? And if it's content creation full time, like, talk about that. There's people that are doing this as kind of a secondary job where that financial piece makes a huge difference. And I think recognizing that is huge. Now, for my answer, I was just going to say that I think a misconception is that that there are people out there that you might want as guests on your show, or people that you really want to talk to and that you're interested in, and seeing that they're not approachable or believing that they're not approachable. And this kind of comes back to just respect. And if you can kind of approach people in a respectful way, you're going to find that a lot of people are very open to talking about Magic. You know, we've had people on the show that, you know, I actually talked to an MLB player, and it was because our co-host just reached out to his rep people and kind of said, hey, we know he plays Magic. Does he want to come on a podcast and talk about it? And, you know, he wasn't demanding. He wasn't rude. He wasn't entitled. He just asked. And I think that, you know, asking and being able to do that, if there's people that you want to talk to, people in our community love talking about Magic. I mean, that's what we found. And we've gotten asked numerous times, how did this person get on your show? Why were they on your show? And it was like, we asked. That's simply what it came down to. And
I was scared to talk to Sheldon. I was like terrified.
That's
the first time I was like, oh God.
but it's true. I think we do get overwhelmed. We're kind of thinking that, and I think that comes back to that I'm not good enough type thing. But it obviously comes down to how you do it, and it's not feeling entitled, and it's not, if somebody says no, it's not about you. It's not necessarily rude. But I've had a lot of people that are even said, I don't get asked. Like, I'm shocked that I don't get asked more to be on people's shows. I would love to talk about this stuff. And I think people think that others are not approachable. So do it respectfully, but, you know, just reach out and ask. And I think that's been a giant misconception and been one of the things that, you know, I think has impacted.
Yeah,
people.
I would absolutely agree. I found that trying to coordinate this, we had a very crunched timetable. This was supposed to be a physical event, and we were planning this for over a year before this pandemic occurred. And this obviously, this pandemic, it completely eliminated the possibility of this being a physical event. But the notion that we change it back into a digital version of this event, we had to rapidly reach out to creators, and we honestly reached a point where we were just throwing it out there. Just, you know, maybe you're a hyper famous person, maybe you'll be interested in this. And I was shocked at the responses I got. I was like, wow, all these people, are totally willing to talk, at the very least, have a discussion, and go from there. But anyways, Hobbs, I'm sorry, not Hobbs, Christian, you're working our way up to Brandon, the top of the pro list, in reverse order. We will be swapping out some people in a little bit. So Christian, let us know what is a big misconception that you recall when it comes to content creation.
So the biggest thing that I think a lot of people really just don't think about is because they don't see it. It's just that they don't see the time that you put in to the thing that you create, right? We're live for maybe 4 hours. Nobody sees the other 12, 16, or whatever that we prep throughout the week, or how much time we put into it over the past couple of years. And that goes for anything. Like Chase was saying, that goes for cosplaying, that goes for writing articles. And a lot of people just, they either don't think about it, or they don't actually understand how much effort you have to put in to get to a particular point to do a particular thing. And one of the other things with it is that it's kind of tough to share that with people, because they don't want to hear you complain about it, right? But your fans do want to see what you put out. That's what they're here for. And so, I guess that's the biggest misconception that I see when it comes to evaluating content. It's just that no one recognizes exactly how much time you put in. Yes, Chase.
Yeah, that's
you in the front.
I just don't want to interrupt.
But
You say such good things, and I feel like I need to piggyback off such good things. I thought of a good answer to the question that I have already answered. But a really misconception that I've noticed is for myself is that when I first started, before I even did anything, I was like, it has to be perfect out the bat. It has to look super polished and be fantastic when you do it. The answer is no. If you are interested in putting something out there, but you're worried about possibly, not having it look splendid and perfect and, everything like that, I just highly recommend just push it out there. Because in terms of video quality, overlay quality, people are going to be drawn to you and your personality and the joy that you have doing it. And they're not going to care about, if you have an overlay or an animated thing, or if you can see chat box or not. Because when I first started, I was like, I gotta have every detail. You got to see the chat box. At the end of the day, just go, just push it out there. Don't not edit it and anything, but don't worry about the details, because those are going to grow and change over time. You're going to become more savvy and knowledgeable about what you do as time goes on. The misconception was just be perfect out the gate. Everything has to be perfect, but just put something out there, see how it goes. I'm going to enjoy if you're having fun more than if you have the perfect banner. But
yeah, I think that's a really good one to touch on, because I feel like a lot of the people who are still here, we're still here after 1 year in, we've been doing this for quite a while, are with the grinders per se, are these perfectionists that are constantly judging our own work based on maybe some other goal. But, this ability to compromise, we want to keep going. We want to get better and better and better and better. Every single piece we create wants to be better than the last. But at the same time, there's this compromise that needs to be, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be better than the last one. If you're able to do that, you can stay sane. You can stay sane, and you can keep producing content better and better and better and better without, losing your mind over the one person who says, "Hey, your audio is crap." That kind of person that commenting in the YouTube section.
I'd be like, "Yeah, you're right. It is."
I had to take over editing our cast when we lost our third host, and I have never done anything with editing, audio, anything ever, and I hate the sound of my own voice. I always have.
It's natural to hate your own voice. It's maddening to try and edit your own audio, and
then to realize how much editing kind of went into, and I've had weeks that kind of Chase mentioned, a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't able to do as fine tuning as I wanted to for an episode that we had, but I also wanted us to have an episode out, and so I had to realize that there might have been more pauses or things that I could have cut out or things I could have done. But it was more important to have the episode out, and people still got the message and got what we wanted out of it.
Very cool.
Love
All right.
it.
Well, we need to keep moving forward. Christian, I don't think we got to you about what is a common misconception that you feel like
I'm happy to answer the question again.
I think we're over to Brandon.
I think it's Brandon.
Yeah.
Keep forgetting poor
Hold on.
Brandon.
I still don't acknowledge Brandon exists.
He's
as a
sitting there
creator.
smiling. Someone help him.
Brandon is like, yeah. Brandon.
I just take it. I'll just take it. No, definitely. I want to actually echo what Chris said. And that there's a misconception about the amount of time that goes into making content. When we first started, just in the opening alone and what we had built, I had already racked up 32 hours before episode 2. By episode 20, I had already racked up over 80 hours in the time that I'd spent developing, editing, making the intro that we have, and getting things functional. By year 2, I had probably put in over 100 hours into it. And fast forward to now, if you've seen our setup, I know Olivia's been on stream with us before, and you can ask her. We've got, cameras mounted on the ceiling, giant big face cams that are just like right in your face. We've got lighting around the room. I made a table from scratch just to manage our microphones, our audio. It's got a rack underneath. I even drilled cup holders into it. It's a custom table. Yes, beautiful. Yes, just like that. But the biggest thing that I think a lot of people don't understand with content creation is you got to dedicate time. If you can't tell yourself that every Saturday from this time to this time I will be unavailable to everyone no matter what, then you should not get started. And the reason why I say that is because that's a commitment that rain or shine you got to be to, because if you're not and you start to falter in that, not only are you failing yourself, but you're undermining your actual growth, because you have to have that mindset that you're going to do it no matter what. And every time you slack off, you're like, just do it. I'll do it next time. I'll do it next time. And by the time you get to it, it's already crumbling around you. And I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have, that I really wish I seen more commitment out of others to do it, because they have a lot of great potential. They've got all the tools that they need. They have the support from the community, but the one thing that's on them is themselves, And I don't want to scare people in that. I just want to make sure that people see that up front, because when we do this, all of us here, we make that commitment, and it's not like, I'll just pick it up one week and not the other. We're committed to this. It's our future. It's our goals. It's our wants. So
I'm gonna just real quick, as a mental health person here, talk about the fact that if you have to take those type of breaks, the communication is what's important. And unfortunately, it can mean early on. What I'm saying with Brandon, having that time early on to commit and know that you kind of can. I would recommend kind of thinking ahead if we're talking about creating content. One of the things that we did is, before we ever put out our first episode, we banked kind of a couple. We got kind of a routine up and running so that we did have kind of stuff booked ahead in case life came up, because it does, if you're trying to build an audience and you're trying to get something going and you miss it is very difficult, and you could very easily end up losing your show or whatever. I will say life happens, and when it does, I think the important thing then is communication. We've had to communicate when we can't put out an episode. We are hitting our Patreons, or we're hitting the people that we need to know first. We are going to make sure that they're getting to know why, and we are brutally honest about it. And we have found that to be true. And if we've missed too much, we're going to start losing. And so, but recognizing that there are times that we have had to miss for real reasons.
Well, you gotta remember that there are some times that are things that are more important. This is a thing that we want to do, and to some extent, for some of us, some folks, it's a livelihood. But your mental health and your physical health are way more important than that. And I'm certainly not. I'm certainly not a stranger to having had to take weeks off from creating content to take care of my health. and you have to you have to be there. I mean, I'm pretty proud that the first time I went through radiation, I took 2 weeks off. I missed 2 articles over 5 months. So
yeah, I mean, that's huge, right? That establishes the mental versus physical health situation.
Right.
You're willing to acknowledge that it's important for you to take time off. For those who don't know, Sheldon, has been battling a lot of physical issues and is still out there just Sheldon's here tonight talking with us. Sheldon's out there, like you cannot say that Sheldon has not been all in at any point in time, for sure.
Well, when you're facing something that might kill you, you either surrender or you stare it in the face and say, "You might kill me, but you're never going to defeat me." And
Cool.
and there's a lot of literature, and I'm sure Hobbs, who disappeared.
Yeah, Hobbs disappeared.
That it's not. There's a lot of literature on on the mental aspect of beating a disease, beating something like cancer. That it's not enough. It's not enough to not want to die. You actually have to have something to live for, and doing the things that you do is something to live for, and doing the things that you love is something to live for. So you should do them, and guess what? You should do them even if you're not facing a terminal disease.
Yeah, it's much easier to do that when you don't have to evaluate every minute of your life going forward.
Yeah, and trust me, there's many times where we've canceled our stream because health reasons or people just couldn't do it because of life. But there's that mental preparedness that a lot of people, I don't think, take into consideration when they think that they can just go out and make content. So
right.
I'm just
the schedule's important. The schedule's important. I feel like you should have added me. Our show has effectively created no content during the COVID crisis, which is actually a crisis in which you would think content creation would increase at home. However, we managed to do the opposite. So, anyways, we're going to take this moment to swap out some people. I know we're only actually 10 minutes away from the beginning of a QA, but we may absorb some of that time, Sheldon permitting, to talk a little bit more about our concepts in the community and our processes when it comes to content development. But we are going to swap some people in. So I want to thank Hobbs and Christian from C&C Power Hour for joining us. We're going to bring in 2 other people, including Austin from Commander 99 and Logan of the infamous Seraph 6. They will be joining us in a couple of minutes, and we'll do a quick intro of their content, but we'll dive right back into these issues. Well, I shouldn't call them issues, but these talking points that we've been going over here regarding the community, and then we'll also reach the process in which we create content. Even though I felt like we did a pretty good job of covering that recently.
So is this the point where we can take a hospitality break?
I would say
do it.
I would say
now.
take a soft 5.
Yeah, my video may have
go
gone
refill your glass.
Don't even leave the
was
chair.
it Pino?
Just let it go.
Fill your glass. Whatever do you mean?
Yeah. So thank you all for having me.
Awesome.
I'll be back
thank
momentarily.
you for letting me come on. It was great.
Absolutely. We loved having you.
All right, well, we're going to change some people out real quick here while that's going. I'm going to throw up the schedule real quick just to give people a little bit of a break and a breather. As you can see on the timetable, we're coming up to our Q&A, our open table, but we're going to swap some people out, hopefully go a little bit past that, and then we'll go back to the Q&A, hopefully if we still have time afterwards. So we got 2 people coming in, and hopefully we'll be right back at it in the next couple of minutes.